The story I'm going to talk about is from the work Alias Grace, written by Margaret Atwood, already famous in Italy for The Handmaid's Tale, well-known writer, poet, but also for her activities about feminism. She was of the most awarded writers of fiction and science fiction. Born in Ottawa, Ontario, on November 18, 1939, she is the second of 3 children. Because of her father's work, the young writer spent much of her childhood in the great forests of Quebec without attending school full-time, at least not until she was 11. She became a voracious reader even as a child, with the fairy tales of Brothers Grimm, short stories and poems. Among her many works, we can find Alias Grace, translated in Italy as L'altra Grace. Their work opens with a black news event that shocked people in 1843, the murder of 2 people, Thomas Skinner and his mistress, housekeeper Nancy Montgomery. The male character, Grace Marks, at the time 16, is accused along with another servant, James McDermott. While the latter will immediately be found guilty and sentenced by hanging, the protagonist, giving conflicting versions and claiming to remember nothing of the murder, will be sent to an asylum to avoid being found guilty or married insane. After spending several years in a criminal asylum where she was abused by attending physicians, she was transferred to Kingston Prison. 10 years later, in 1853, Grace began to receive frequent visits from doctor and psychiatrist Simon Jordan, who, with his little knowledge of the psychological field at the time, tried to trace Grace's memories of the day of the murder. Jordan is a young psychiatrist who has decided to make Grace talk by an unusual method, free associations. Each time he brings her an object to her cell, whether it's in an apple or a turnip, and lets her talk freely about her life without interrupting her. And it is through these recounting and digressions that Grace's sad story from her childhood to the present day comes out, plumbed by suffering and abuse from an early age of the hands of her father. The latter, following the death of her mother, will send her away from home in search of work. She will find it as a maid in a huge house, and it's here that she will make the acquaintance of her closest friend, Mary Whitney, who died too soon following to a miscarriage gone wrong. One of the highlights of this work is the soul, or more precisely what happens to it after death. At the time of Grace's mother's death, while embarking for America, an elderly woman tells her that her mother's soul, having died in a closed place, can never fly away. The theme of free soul is repeated throughout the book. In fact, at the time of death of her dear friend Mary Whitney, Grace's first action after remembering the old woman's word is to open the window, with the only peculiarity being that after her friend's death, Grace quickly hears a voice say, "Let me in," and not "Let me out." This represents a turning point because at the end of the story it's revealed that the culprit is none other than Mary Whitney's soul in Grace's body, leaving the latter with no memory of what happened. A Netflix TV series was made from this work. I find the TV series to be very faithful to her original work, even adding more dramatic notes to the music and rhythm used. As in the book, in its respective adaptation, episode after episode, we dug into the story of poor Grace Mark, a victim of a system and a society that sees her either as a martyr or a murderer. The TV series has managed to keep all the main facts intact, often using the same words as in the book, making it almost itself as a screenplay. The rhythm was never too slow thanks to digressions into Grace's past that intrigue and at the same time reveal answers to the viewer. In addition, the adaptation is marked by cinematography with nuanced and cold tones, and from the very first installment, no details are spread of the violence she endured inside the prison, the tragic 8 weeks ocean crossing, the examination to which the condemned woman is subjected, and the complicated situation experienced by a woman in the 19th century. The author of the work proves that she knows how to deal with themes that seem distant from us, but which in fact affect us very closely and therefore deserve attention. In addition to the social consideration of women and that of the gap between the various social classes, in fact the fascinating description of an era in which the human mind and psyche were being studied for the first time undoubtedly deserve praise. Although the subject of the condition of women is a common theme frequently treated by many authors, I believe that the way it is treated in this book is worthy of attention. The simplicity with which the facts are told dug you into the reality that women had to deal with during the 18th, from Grace's experience being abused by her father after the death of her mother, to the episode of her friend Mary Whitney, who died as a result of an abortion gone wrong. Grace faces difficulties every day as a woman, both in her daily life and after the incident, abused by the very people who should have helped her inside the asylum. From here we understand her distrust of the doctor, who arrived with the intention of finding out whether she was really crazy or was just a way to escape from the death penalty, introducing a new study, the human psyche. The latter represents a first attempt to study towards a subject that had always been ignored. To that point, trying to make it clear that even unseen wounds and trauma can have their consequence on the human body. Alias Grace is a thriller mixed with a crime story, keeping the reader and viewer in suspense until the end. One of the reasons that led me to choose this book is the author's simple and clean style, thanks to which I easily empathized with the main character, thus entering into the atmosphere of the book that captured me immediately from the beginning. From the very beginning, the author was good at establishing in the reader the seed of doubt, never revealing the male character's real condition and leading me several times to doubt my own thoughts and theories about what had really happened. Atwood was succeeded in creating a complex, nuanced character. Is she lying or telling the truth? Once I reached the end of the book, all I felt was a strong feeling of bitterness in my mouth. The girl had her freedom, yes, but a freedom that was very painful, for a life that she will never be able to fully enjoy. In addition, I find that the constant changes of register from first to third person along the newspaper articles and court documents daze the reader and entangle him, leaving him with a sense of great, deep uncertainty.